Hi, my name is Jay Sugarman, and I want to welcome you to Innovation Showcase. The main purpose of this ongoing series is to inform viewers about exciting innovations and creative individuals across the fields of business, science, technology, education, and the arts. Today, via Zoom, we're fortunate to have as our guest Shawn Peterson. Shawn serves as the director and curator of the PEZ Visitor Center, which is located in Orange, Connecticut. He's also the author of the book entitled PEZ, From Austrian Invention to American Icon. During the program, we're finding out why and how PEZ came about and how it's grown and developed over the years. We'll learn about the history and mission of the Visitor Center. We'll go on a behind-the-scenes tour and in the process come to better understand and appreciate the wide range of PEZ dispensers that are on display and the many kinds of opportunities that are available for visitors today. Let's start by meeting Shawn and then finding out all about the PEZ Visitor Center. Welcome, Shawn. So delighted to be able to be here.
Hey, good morning. How are you, Jay?
I'm terrific, and it's been so much fun finding out a little bit more than I ever knew about PEZ, the Visitor Center, eager to find out more, to go on a tour with you, have you inform viewers. But before we jump right to that, I think it would also be of interest if you'd briefly share just a little bit about your background and what your current position entails, please.
Sure. I've been with PEZ for about 15 years now. Been a collector for about 35 years. So this has
Oh,
been a big part of my life. I was a collector for many, many years before PEZ gave me the opportunity to come work for them. And I've been here since 2010.
fabulous, fabulous. And how did your interest in PEZ come about?
Oh, it's interesting. I guess, it's really, I think born out of boredom more than anything. I found myself going to flea markets and, tag sales and things like that and wandering around. And, I just kind of realized I asked myself one day, why are you here? What are you looking for? You keep going to these flea markets and, there's no real purpose or directive here of what you're trying to find. What are you looking for? And it just hit one day. There was like 3 or 4 baskets in a row on the tables, and they all had PEZ dispensers in them. They were cheap. I picked them up. I looked at them, and I just instantly thought, well, this is fun. You look at the characters, the bright colors, how they work. There was certainly a nostalgic feel to it. It really hit. I was like, wow, this is cool. I like these. And the more you think about it, it's like, I had these when I was little. I really don't know what I had, but I like this. Let's see what we can do here. And I think I spent $5. It was cheap. Came home with a few of them, lined them up on the shelf, and I continued to look at them. And I think next time I went, I decided this is what I'm going to look for, and it just kind of grew from there.
Well, I think PEZ dispensers have definitely been a part of many, many of our childhoods.
For sure.
So can definitely see the attraction. How did that lead to the inspiration of the visitor center? You're getting involved with the company.
Yeah, well, actually, that piece was many steps later. It was just a continued interest in collecting, and there wasn't any information out there for a number of years. This is pre-internet. There wasn't a Google to look this stuff up. There wasn't a book to be found. And after a while, a book did come out, or a couple of books came out, but nothing had been updated for a while. And they say if you want it and it's not out there, do it yourself. And it's kind of where I ended up. I really never set out to be an author or to write a book, and it wasn't an aspiration really ever. But I wanted a new book. I wanted something, to show all these new PEZ that had come out and give some history and things like that. So I started researching how to do it. Found some other books that I liked at the bookstore called authors, talked to them about their process, what they would do, what they wouldn't do again. Got some great information, and just put the pitch out there to some different publishers. Got some interest, and that led to the first book that I ever wrote. And that was, I want to say, around 2000. And from there, it was just a continual build on that work. I wrote 3 collector guides.
Wow.
2016, the book you mentioned earlier, Austrian Invention to American Icon, came out. That was certainly after I started working for PEZ.
Uh,
But it was through those books that kind of created an introduction to the company, to me, because they were aware of the book. They had them, here in the office. Marketing was using them to kind of get a sense of perspective of, what they had done historically, past dispensers and things like that. And once in a while, I'd get a call. Hey, we had a history question. What about this? When did we do that? Or have we ever done that? Or whatnot? Or they'd get a question from somebody that they couldn't answer. So they would call me, and that kind of created an introduction. And, what started, kind of a little bit of a relationship. I was in the greeting card business in Kansas City for almost 20 years.
hmm.
And that was my job. I thought, that's where I'm going to retire. This is where I live. This is what I do. And about 14 years into that career, it kind of became clear this is not where I'm going to retire. So I managed to hang on another 6 years. And in that time, I started thinking about, what do you really want to do? And the old adage is, do what you love.
Yeah.
For me, that was PEZ, but they've got a business already. They're well established. How can I become part of that? So I thought, well, what hasn't PEZ done yet? And the visitor center we have here is just kind of a template of, what other businesses have done. If you've got a manufacturing facility, you show people what you do. You maybe have a gift shop. You let them shop, show them what you do, get them excited, and they want to buy the product. So I'd researched some various museum gift shop type things in Kansas City. Got some great information. And in 2006, I came to PEZ with a proposal to open some kind of museum gift shop type business. And if you like the idea, I'd like to be the guy to run it for you. That was kind of the hook. And I knew enough about the company at this point to know they didn't have an archive of material to draw upon themselves to do this. But for me, that was kind of, the hook to get me into it, is I had enough material in my own collection that we could use for the basis of this facility. And they liked it, but he said, we really aren't ready. So it took about 4 years for the company to
Hmm.
do some internal things, new machines, new computers, things like that, that they were just updating the infrastructure of what they do here before they were ready to take on the next piece. And 2009, he called and said, if you're still serious about this, let's talk about having you move up here and creating this thing we're going to call, we don't know what yet. It was unnamed, really undetermined what it was going to be. And came up here, and we started. Took about a year and a half, 2 years to get this opened, and here we are.
That's fabulous, fabulous. Well, we're going to segue to the visitor center and see what it has to offer. I think equally what's interesting is your story of how it went from a passing interest at a flea market to developing this whole other career, becoming the historian of corporation, and the creation of the visitor center is a fabulous story in itself.
Well, thank you. Yeah. Yep. There's other ways to win the lottery. And I feel like I've kind of
Uh,
won the life lottery here, as far as job goes. Not too many people get to do what they love and enjoy every day, and get to work around, their own collection, their own toys here, so to speak. And
I,
I feel
it,
very fortunate to be here.
and I think the company is as well. To have somebody like you, couldn't have a more perfect person to represent the corporation.
Well, thank you.
We're fortunate to have you right in the visitor center, a real treat. And you're going to take us with your iPhone around and point out some of the highlights, what visitors can look forward to, some of the interesting collections, the areas. There's really so much to offer. So please lead us on.
All right. Well, we're gonna try to mess with technology here. Let's see if I can get my camera turned around. And I'm kind of front and center here as you come into the exhibit. So I'll kind of pan over slowly. This is our front lobby that greets people. So everybody will come in here. This is kind of the starting point. And then as you do come into the center, one of the first things that greets you is right in front of the door. And as I stand here, you can't really tell what that is, but we're going to pan up just a little bit.
Wow.
We'll see the world's largest PEZ dispenser. And it's
Fabulous.
actually interactive. So we can go down here to the button. We're going to hit that, and then we will, well, it is the first thing in the morning, and you got to remember to turn everything on before you try to do a demonstration.
For sure.
My
For sure.
apologies there. So we'll turn the button on, or all right, so we'll figure out why that's not working already this morning. It's probably the wall switch, but imagine that head tipping back and a giant piece of candy coming out.
Oh, what a great greeting.
So kind of fun. And then we turn you over to our history wall. We kind of give you a little idea of where to start as you come in. That looks like the shape of the bottom of a dispenser foot. So we tell you to start here. And then we want to teach you a little bit about PEZ and how we've become a brand over the years. And I think this is what surprises people the most when they see how long we have been a brand. We're coming up on our 100th anniversary, believe it or not. We've been a brand since 1927. The gentleman that you see here in the photo, that is Edward Haas III. He is the man that created PEZ. And we want to tell PEZ, what is that word? What does it mean? Everybody asks, and it's actually a little acronym for the German word for pfefferminz, which is the German word for peppermint. So Mr. Haas used the first, middle, and last letter of the word pfefferminz to come up with the name PEZ.
Nice.
And it actually did a couple of things. It was easily pronounceable in just about any language. It was a trademarkable brand name. So it served a couple of purposes. PEZ is a global product. The United States, which everybody assumes is kind of the home of PEZ and its pop culture and all of this, we were kind of the last ones to the show here, so to speak. It started in Austria, it gained popularity throughout Europe and the rest of the world, and it actually didn't come to the United States until 1952. So we talk a little bit about that here as we pan down the wall. This was the introduction of PEZ to the United States. And when it did come to the US, it was still being sold as it was in Europe and throughout the rest of the world as a breath mint, in a way to freshen your breath and an alternative to smoking. And Americans really didn't embrace that. They just didn't think that was a great product or not something that they needed or wanted. So somebody in marketing decided, you know what, let's change this peppermint flavor to fruit flavors. We've got this great new dispenser that was just created a very short time ago. Maybe we put a little three-dimensional character head on top of that, market it to children, and see what the interest is. And it had such a success in such a short amount of time. It really changed the direction of the company from selling the adult breath mints to becoming a children's product. And honestly, we've been primarily a children's product ever since the introduction to the United States. So we came, people are like, well, how long have you been where you are? And the factory that I'm standing in, or the visitor center here, is actually part of the factory. And this was constructed in the early 1970s. About 1973 is when this factory went operational, and we've been here ever since. We've just kind of expanded the boundaries of the original four walls and pushed it out a little bit, but we're still here in the original spot. We've made a few changes over the years. Certainly the dispensers have changed modestly, put some feet on the bottom to give them a little stability when they stand upright. And then in the 90s, you see things really starting to take off with some pop culture things. The collector conventions are getting established. We end up on the cover of Forbes magazine talking about what a hot collectible PEZ is, and you might do better investing in PEZ than some of the traditional art and antiques and things like that. And then in 2006, you see a lot of innovation start to, or I'm sorry, 2000s, you start to see a lot of innovation start to happen. We do the fuzzy PEZ. We worked with General Mills to create some cereal premiums. We did the first ever gift sets. The first real people were introduced on a PEZ dispenser and so forth. So we're really getting a lot of momentum here as you're going into the 2000s. And then shortly thereafter, 2011, we opened our visitor center here. And our last little section is kind of a current what's going on. We've got a little iPad here that's locked into our website and a small display of some of the newer current items that may be up and coming to give people a sneak peek of what we're doing. So that's kind of the entry here. We want to just give you a little bit of a history of what PEZ is and how we've come to where we are today. And to me, it's one of the more interesting aspects of the brand, you know, just how it has changed in the happy momentum, so to speak, that came from switching that product. So get done with that. We want to challenge your knowledge. We've got a little PEZ trivia game here that you can do.
Terrific.
You can start the game. It gives you the opportunity to put your name in. It's going to ask you a series of questions. Times you can choose novice, intermediate, or expert.
Great.
And then at the conclusion, it'll give you the opportunity to print a little certificate with your name, date, and the score on it. So you got a little take home there that you can have bragging rights with your family. I got 19 out of 20. You only got 17 out of 20. So, you know, that's kind of a fun little thing that we do. As we come down the wall here, it is a real actual working factory. We produce, you know, candy here to the tune of about 12 million individual candy tablets a day.
Wow.
And people can't go back there. You know, it is a real factory, but we want to give you a glimpse inside. So we've got a little video here that shows the process, what we do, how we do it, how the candy is created, how the dispensers are decided upon, how those are created. And then as you come down the wall here, we've got windows into the production area, and you can see
terrific
what is happening on a day-by-day, play-by-play basis, so to speak. So they're in here. Every day is a little bit different. I think people look around and they see really how small the area is, and they're like, well, is this just a demonstration? Where is the real factory? And I've had this question a number of times, so it surprises me. But no, it is the real factory. It's not really so much about being the biggest. It's really just about being the most efficient. And that's what we've proven here. It's just not a big space. But we do give you a little virtual tour here that you can go back into the space without actually being there, and you can control where you want to go. It'll take you right through the factory, and you can get up close to the machines and get a little detail of what they're working on. So it's kind of fun.
Yes.
And we do the same actually on our website. So if you can't be here, or maybe you're watching this podcast in California, and coming to California is just not, or coming to Connecticut is just not the easiest opportunity or something you can do on a whim, you can go to our website, and we have a virtual tour of our visitor center here that I'm standing in, and you can kind of control it yourself. You can get up to the display cases, look in and see a much more detailed view of what it looks like here and what the space is. And hopefully maybe one of these days you can come visit in person.
Oh, looking forward to it. Yes, I have to say, really have a terrific website. Does an incredible job with the history, wonderful detail that we're not able to cover in the program, the interactive tour. It's really terrific, and we'll have that in the credits. And if I'm not mistaken, Shawn, most of the items that we're seeing as you pan around are yours, your collection.
Well, that's correct. Yeah, pretty much everything here, with the exception of just a couple of items, the things behind glass, the things that are on the walls, frame, the vending machines, all that stuff. It is all part of my own personal collection.
That's incredible. Um, do the displays change over time? And if so, how do you go about that?
Well, I update them. I don't do too much of a drastic change. What is out here is pretty much out here, but I'm adding things almost all the time as new dispensers come out, or I get something that I think is just really, really cool. As you can see, most of the cases are pretty full. So at
Yes.
this point, I've got to take something out to put something in. And for me, that's kind of tough. I don't like to keep some of this stuff locked away. I think it all has interest and value and a story behind it. So I try to keep as much out here as we can, but I do update new things as they are released and try to keep the displays with a few interesting things every now and then.
How does PEZ go about deciding on new characters and themes for the PEZ dispensers?
Well, it's based on what's hot, what's popular, what's really going to have some staying power. We don't want to get on the latest trend just because you can sell a bunch of them for a short period of time. Doesn't necessarily mean it's right for the brand. We want to do something that's we think is going to be an evergreen, which means they'll have some life to it, not only this year but next year and hopefully a year or two beyond that. So it gets really difficult sometimes because of the long planning process of what it takes to create a dispenser. It doesn't just happen. It's usually a year and a half, 2 years sometimes in development. And when you're working with licensed characters for movies, different events, things like that, you can imagine if something happens that the movie gets put on hold. They decide it's no longer going to be the big summer blockbuster. It's going to be something now scheduled for winter release, and you're planning on uh, putting that out to market. It certainly changes all that. So there's a lot of challenges, that people don't think about, but we just want to get something that is going to be good and has some staying power.
What do you think are a couple, or what comes to mind as far as most unique or unusual dispensers that have been created over the years?
Oh, there's the one that comes to mind probably more recently. Walmart had a program that you could go in the store, and it was called a pickup tower. It
Uh-huh.
was just a large, I think it was an octagon shaped tower that they had in their store. It was orange and black, and you could place your order online. You could walk into this tower. I think you punched a code in, and there was like a little door in it or something, and your item that you ordered would be there. And they actually created a dispenser for that,
Huh.
which we'll go over here. I'll see if I can actually show you what that looked like. I'll switch my camera back over. And sorry, my apologies for the glare on the glass here. It's
Oh, it
kind of
looks
tough to
fine.
see, but yeah, that's a Walmart pickup tower PEZ dispenser. So that's probably one of the more unique items of recent that they've created. Certainly a few things probably in years past, but that one comes to mind right now.
Have you had any input on design, or if you could, what would you like to see created?
I've had a little bit, yeah. The giant dispenser that we looked at, we had a take-home version for a number of years that was
Ah,
exclusive to here. I developed that one. That was my first dispenser. I did one of the haulers years ago. Briefly, I was working on that project. I did a um, little grocery store one with a red cab and a yellow trailer to it. So I worked on that one, and I get a little bit of input here and there, maybe some ideas. I'm on the 100th anniversary group talking about what we want to do
hmm.
for a 100th anniversary and what makes sense for that. So I'm real excited about that one because that's just a blank canvas and it's got all kinds of nostalgia around it. And that's just, that's my wheelhouse. I love that stuff.
Terrific, terrific. What's been some of the reaction and feedback from visitors over the years?
I think just amazement in a way that we try to under promise and over deliver. There's not a lot out there. We just got a sign on the highway, a couple of billboards, next exit PEZ factory, and people are like, what, the PEZ factory? So they pull off, they come here, they walk in, they weren't expecting to be here, they're overwhelmed by the number of dispensers that they see in the front lobby. And they come in and all the bright colors, and it's kind of a fun distraction for a few minutes wherever they were heading. We're in a really great spot between New York and Boston, so when traffic gets hectic or you need a little leg stretch between the two, we're here. And I think people just come out and go, wow, that was really cool. I was not expecting that. We try to keep you entertained. It's interactive. There's stuff to do here, and hopefully they got something to talk about for the next leg of their road trip.
That's terrific, terrific. Do you provide tours, or is it pretty much self-directed and just enjoy the history, the different exhibits, the interactive activities? Looking at the factory on your own, you can definitely make your own tour.
Right, right. Yeah, we tell people it's self-guided. We give you a little brochure when you come in, points out, the different displays and some of the features of the exhibit. And we just want you to kind of discover the space on your own. It's hard. I've done tours in the past with groups, and, trying to get 10 people together and being able to speak loud enough that everybody can hear you above, all the videos and other noise that's going on
Yeah.
gets kind of difficult. So we just think it's best to let people find their own way. We point you where to start, or where we think is a good place to start, and turn you loose with a little bit of information, and everybody can make it their own and enjoy their time.
Wonderful. Well, we're most appreciative that you're able to give us the tour before day begins and it starts to get crowded.
Right, right, yeah. And it should. We're expecting another group this morning. We got, I think, 25 first graders scheduled at 10 a.m. And who knows what the rest of the day will bring.
Oh, what could be a better field trip for
Yeah.
elementary school kids than to go to the PEZ factory? Wow, that's fabulous.
Yep, we enjoyed it. It makes it a lot of fun. The kids come in and they're just, wow. And it is for us. It's a job, certainly. It's work and things like that. But it certainly refreshes, the perspective when you come in and hear somebody when they're seeing it for the first time, and the comments and the fun that they had. It makes it all worth it.
Well, you mentioned, Shawn, that it's a job for you and your colleagues, but in a way, as you started explaining from the beginning of our conversation, really not a job for you, just a wonderful opportunity to take this longtime interest now and turn it both into a livelihood and for something that thousands and thousands of people have and will continue to enjoy in years to come.
Yeah, absolutely. I feel very lucky, very fortunate to be in this position. I get to be the guy that started it. Who knows where it'll end up, but my hope and dream at this point, is it continues on long after me. I'd like to see the collection remain intact, remain as a viable thing that people can come visit. Well beyond my time here, and hopefully my time on the planet, that this will be an enduring little thing for people for many years to come.
Most definitely. Well, unfortunately, Shawn, we've come to the end of the program. Want to thank you again very much for taking time to be here, for giving us this fabulous tour, and in getting our interest even more so in PEZ and encouraging us to come to Orange, Connecticut for a visit and a tour. So continued success with future endeavors.
My pleasure. Thank you, Jay. I appreciate it a lot.
Also want to thank those of you for watching and hope you'll be able to tune in next time.